Okay, so let's work on our countdown. So in order to build out our countdown for our timer and our airdrop, because we want these seconds to change from 20, 19, 18, right? We could just build a function that's actually going to count this down for us, and then we can call that function to count it down. And how we choose to call the function is going to be up to us, right? But for now, we'll just build out the functionality of it. So what do we want to do first? Well, the first thing we want to do, I'll let you guess. What do you think the first thing is? Probably to make the countdown function, right? So let's just make a function countdown. We can just make it like this. All right, so we've got a countdown function here. And what should we put as the logic in our countdown function? Well, we should do two things, right? We should do one thing where what we're going to do is just count down. So count down 1 second at a time. That's one. All right. And then two, we want to stop counting when we hit 0, right? So those are the two things that we want to do. So let's focus on one of these things at a time. So count down 1 second at a time. Well, how can we actually write this out? Well, essentially what we want to do is just say -1 every time, right? Seconds are going to be 20, 19, 18. So we want to subtract 1 from here every single time. So how could we do that and write it out in our countdown function and set it up to our state so it does it? Well, we can make a variable. We can call it seconds. And let's just say in our seconds variable, we're going to put this math there. So we can say this dot state dot seconds -1. And now that we have a seconds that's actually changing, we can go ahead and update the state so that it's going to be -1 every time this function runs. So how do we do that? It can be -1 when we're running this function. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is we can go here. Let's go underneath and let's set the state. So we can say this dot set state. And this time I'm going to set the state properly, not like a fool. And what is the state that we want to set? Well, it's our time and our seconds, right? So time and seconds. Let's set our seconds to our seconds. So we'll do that. And then what about time? What should time be? Well, time should be the update of our seconds, right? But how do we do that? Well, we want to run our seconds to time function in order to do that. So what we can do is we can say this dot seconds to time. And as an argument, we're actually going to take seconds so that we're subtracting our seconds. And we'll run a comment over here. Okay, and so now we have a countdown formula here. So we're basically grabbing the state at 20 seconds, we -1, and then we reset the state here. So we set the state so that seconds to time, whenever we run the countdown, is going to do the same thing. We set the state to our seconds to time, but this time our seconds are actually going to be subtracted by one, okay? And then our seconds here, and then we update our seconds, right? Because then we want it to be 19 the next time, and 18, and 17. Otherwise, if we don't do that, it'll just go back to 20 every single time, right? Because if we remove that, it's not going to update our seconds. So we need to update our seconds as well. And that's the logic, essentially, for our countdown, for counting down. But the other thing we want to do is we want to clear our interval when we get to 0. So how do we do that? Well, let's work on that together now. And how do we do this? Well, we want to write a conditional statement, right? And what do we want to say? Well, let's work with our seconds. We want to say that when our seconds get to 0, we clear the timer. So how do we write that out? So you know what? Pause the video and give it a shot. See if you can take what I just said and write it out in JavaScript. Good practice. Good luck. Okay, so hopefully you had success giving that a shot. If not, don't worry, we'll do it together. If you did, way to go. You to man or to woman or to whatever. Okay, so we're going to do if seconds equals what? 0, right? So that's our statement. If seconds equals 0 is true, then what do we want to do? Well, we can actually use a method, and maybe you know this method, maybe not. We're going to use the clear interval method. And essentially, clear interval comes from JavaScript. And what it does is cancel the clock. It's just going to stop. It's going to essentially just stop our interval because we're going to use another function called set interval in order to run this countdown, which actually starts the countdown, and clear interval stops it. So in order for you to have got this, you would have had to know either already known clear interval or looked up some JavaScript methods. Now, is this the only way to do it? No, you could have actually written out some code to run a script and count it down in a different way. You could have written some code to stop it in another way, to cancel it, and that's totally fine too. But this is the way we're going to do it. This is easy. It's set up. This is efficient and easy to do. So we're just going to run clear interval, and what's the argument that we're going to be clearing? Well, it's going to be the timer, but we have to put in the this, right? Because we have to because we are grabbing our this.timer, right? So we're bringing in this.timer like that. And now we have a countdown function. That's it. So let me just save this and let's make sure nothing's breaking. Okay, looks like we refreshed. Everything's good to go. All right, awesome. So we've built out the countdown functionality in this two-step process. In the next video, let's go ahead and actually call the countdown with a set interval and make this timer work together. All right, great work. See you in the next video.